Hello. In this video, I will do an ACT math algebra video regarding linear graphs. Okay, so yes, we are doing ACT math algebra and we are doing linear graphs. So after this lesson, you'll be able to calculate the slope or midpoint of a line given 2 points. And also you're gonna able to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so this should be a little bit of a review. So let's talk about review. So let's look over some formulas. As you can see, slope or m is the same thing as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? And then midpoint is the average of the x and y's, if that makes sense. And then slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so go ahead and copy those down. So those should be familiar. Okay, let's start with question one. Question one says, if the equation of a line is 4x minus 7y equals 14, what is the slope of a line? So yeah, let's talk about that. So we have the 4x minus 7y equals 14. How do you find the slope? So what you got to do is convert this into y equals mx plus b form, right? And we got to find this, we just got to find the m. We don't care about the b, the y intercept. That's not relevant. So all we got to do is solve for y. So first I'm gonna subtract 4x from both sides. I get negative 7y equals to negative 4x plus 14. And then solve for y by dividing both sides by negative 7. Everything by negative 7, right? So you get y equals negative 4 divided by negative 7 is positive 4/7 x. 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. So what is the slope? The slope is the number in front of x, so that's going to be 4/7. So yes, that is going to be C. Okay. Uh, Question two, what is the y-intercept of the line that passes through the points 1 comma negative 13 and negative 10 comma 31? So the y-intercept, yeah, what you got to do is on question two, you have to use two formulas. You gotta use a slope-intercept form. So you gotta use y equals mx plus b, and then we also have to use the slope formula, right? M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so we have 2 points. We don't have the slope, so what we'll do is let me write out our 2 points. 1 comma negative 13, negative 10 comma 31. So I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2. So what is my y2? So this is why I label it so I don't get confused. My y2 is 31 minus my y1 is negative 13. My x2 is negative 10 minus my x1 is 1. Okay, so on the top, 31 minus 13, two negatives becomes a positive. What is 31 plus 13? You can use a calculator because it says we couldn't, so 31 plus 13 is 44. Negative 10 minus 1 is negative 11, and put it all together. What is 44? Divided by negative 11 is negative 4. Oh, wait, did I do that? Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, so that's not our answer. We found slope. So here, let me scroll down. Yeah, we found slope. So we have the equation y equals negative 4x plus b. Now, unfortunately, sometimes they give you your b, which is this is how you know you have an automatic b. If your x coordinate is 0 and your y coordinate is a number, that's how you know you have a b already. You don't have to solve for it. But unfortunately, none of our points has an x value of 0. So in order to solve for b, what you're going to do is pick a point. It doesn't matter which one. You could do this one or this one. It will not be wrong. I'm going to do this one. And then I'm going to replace my y, substitute those values. So my y is negative 13 and my x is 1 plus b. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 plus b. Add 4 to both sides. So you get b equals to negative 13 plus 4, which is negative 9. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 4x minus 9. And then negative 9 is my b. Okay, good. Let's move on. Question 3, given a point A equals negative 3, negative 8, if the midpoint of the segment of AB is 1 comma negative 5, what are the coordinates of B? Okay, so on question 3, we are dealing with midpoint. So let me write out our two notes. I mean our 2 points. So you do got to use a midpoint formula. So first, let me write out my 2 points. So point A has a coordinate of negative 3, negative 8. Point B has a point of, what is it? Oh, we don't know what point B is. Let's call it x2 comma y2 for right now. So what we're doing is trying to find the midpoint of line segment AB. So I'll say line segment AB equals to the midpoint. So what is the midpoint? It's the average of the x's. So x1 plus x2 over 2, and then y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay. And then they don't tell us they don't tell us they tell us that the line segment of AB is 1 comma negative 5. So I'm going to write that down. 1 comma negative 5. And then what are my so we got to our goal is to find these point B, x2 and y2. So my x1 is negative 3. So it's going to be negative 3 plus x2 over 2. And then my y1 is negative 8 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so let's see. So what we could do, so this right here is related to the x coordinate, and then this right here is related to the y coordinate, negative 5, right? So we could say negative 3 plus x2 over 2 equals to positive 1, and then the other one is negative 8 plus y2 over 2 equals to -5. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is cross multiply or get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by 2. So here the 2's cancels, you're left with -3 plus x2, and then 1 times 2 is 2, and then add 3, x2 equals to 5. Now I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to cross multiply both sides by 2. So it's going to be -8 plus y2. -5 times 2 is -10, and then add 8. -8, -10 plus 8 is -2. So my coordinates are 5, what is it? 5 comma -2. So that's letter A. Okay, question 4. The following graph represents which of the following equations? So you have a linear line, and if you look at this line very carefully, it goes for the point 12 or 12 comma the x-intercept of 12 comma 0, and it goes for the point or a y-intercept of -4 or 0 comma -4. So we got to find the equation of this line of that graph, right? So as you can see, if you look at all the choices, F, G, H, J, K, they're all in point slope form. So, I mean, it's not point slope form, slope intercept form. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use the equation y equals mx plus b. And what are we going to do? We're going to use 2 points. And the 2 points I'll use, one of them is at 12 comma 0 and 0 comma -4. Okay, so I'm going to call this x1, y1, x2, y2. So, and then I'm going to find slope by using this slope formula. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, right? So y2 is -4 minus y1 is 0, x2 is 0 minus x1 is 12. -4 minus 0 is -4. 0 minus 12 is -12. Two negatives becomes a positive, so you're left with 4 12s. This could be reduced by 4, so that is going to be 1/3. So it's going to be y equals 1/3 x. And then do we have our b? This time we do, because if you look at two of our coordinates, one of them has an x value of 0. So my b is going to be -4. Okay, so that letter would be, let's see, J, right? 1/3 x minus 4. Okay. Okay, question 5 is a word problem. Which of the following equation best describes a linear relationship shown in the table where R represents the number of pounds of rice sold and D represents the price in dollars of 1 pound of rice? So they give us a table. So the price of pound could be, you could think of this as your x coordinate, And then the project number pounds sold is like the y coordinate. So what you would do is if you look at, and then we got to figure out the correct choices. So this is related to a linear line, and instead of y, they use r, and instead of x, they use d. So you're so used to seeing y equals mx plus b. That's the same thing. It's just that the y is now r, and then my x is d plus b. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and find my slope. So what I'm going to do is from the 2 points, I'm going to pick two random points. So maybe I'll use 1.2, comma 15,000. And then the other one is 1.4, comma 12,500. And then this is x1, y1, x2, y2. And then if you figure out the slope, it's going to be y2, which is 12,500 minus y1, which is 15,000. And then my x2 is 1.40 minus my x1 is 1.20. So when you put it all together, let's see, 12,500 minus 15,000 is negative 2,500. And then 1.4 minus 1.0, 1.4 minus 1.20 is 0.2. So I get m equals negative 1,250. So you can eliminate some of these. What can we eliminate? So we have to have a slope of negative 1,250. So you could forget about A. Uh, negative 125. So you could forget about B because this is a positive 125. Maybe C, maybe D. Oh, wait, can we use D? No, we can forget about D. And maybe E. So it's either C or D. Now, how do we have to find the y-intercept? Yeah, you can. And how would you do it is from the 2 points. Pick from the 2 points you chose, isolate B, but that would take a long time. So what we're gonna do is so our equation is gonna be R equals negative 12,500 D plus B. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pick a point, and if the statement is true, that's the one. So I'm going to use a random point. So of the table, I'm going to use the point 1.40, comma 12,500. Okay, so that's the point on the table. And so what I'm going to do is test each one. I'm going to test C or D. Let's try C. So uh, so if I'm going to try C. So it's going to be R equals negative 12,500 D plus 17500. And then I'm going to replace my R with this point. So my X. So my Y is 12,500 negative 125. And then my D is like my X. So I'm going to do times 1.40 plus 17500. And I don't think that's going to equal to 1 to 500 if you put that in the calculator. So it doesn't equal to that. So it's not C. Okay. So instead of solving for B, I'm just going to test uh, each one. So it has to be E, but if you want, we can double check. So it would be R is 12,500, and then it's going to be negative 12,500. And then my D is like my X, so it'd be 1.40 plus 3,000. Not 3,000, 30,000. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to give you, yeah, so this should give you 125,000, and this should give you 125. The left should equal to the right. So that is why it is letter E. Perfect. I am going to stop here.